Do you think that there are too many real estate agents right now?
So everybody has a cell phone. Everybody lives their life on that device. And if you're not showing up on there for somebody, you're missing out on serving your seller. Those skills are important, and they don't teach you that when you're getting your license. They teach you all the, how not to get fined, how to not lose your license,
which is important.
It is important, but that doesn't teach you how to feed your family. I think it's important for you to know where your audience hangs out. We're individuals typically starting out. It's just me, it's just you. Before you build a team or you have a marketing, no one has a marketing department as an agent, at least that I know of. It's typically
like, here's your license and your marketing department.
Yeah. The biggest adjustment, I'll be very, very candid. I mean, it was exactly what a mentor told me it would be. And it's...
If you think you need to up your social media game as a real estate agent, you're going to love this episode. We talked to Tajh Walker, who is a real estate agent in Dallas, Georgia. He is awesome on social media. He has so many good tips, so many good tricks. We really, really dive into it, so you're not going to want to miss this one. So without further ado, let's talk to Tajh Walker. Tajh, welcome to The Key.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. So how did you get into real estate? Tell me about your story. When did you start? How long have you been doing it?
Sure. So I'm from California originally. I came here, traveled here after college, after a whole, I wanted to do one thing, wanted to be a doctor. That was plan A. Long story short, okay. Yeah, that didn't work. I have a degree in biology. Don't use it at all other than to, maybe have a little bit more intentionality reading food labels and eating healthier. But that was plan A. When I graduated, it was, continue to go to college, go down that path, or go to work. And I just wanted to work. I didn't want to get into any debt. And I just was at that point in my life. It took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree, by the way. So it took me a little bit longer when you're trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
But I did finish and came out of college with a biology degree. But after that, I just wanted to work. So I worked for about a year and then pretty much jumped ship and moved to Atlanta. I had a family friend who pretty much told me, if you want to live here, you have a space. She treated me like a second son. And that was kind of the impetus and the reason for me moving here. It was kind of an easy transition. So that's how I ended up here. And then I worked in corporate for about 4 years. I was in logistics and sales and marketing, sold a piece of technology in the logistics space. So that's kind of how I sharpened my people skills, my sales skills, different things like that, marketing skills. And then I ended up purchasing. So when I was in California, I saved up. I moved back home for about a year, saved up pretty much everything that I was making at the time, because I worked a year before I moved here, graduated, worked for a year, then moved. And I spent all that money on my first home. I bought my first home, and that, I think going through that process and seeing what that eventually did for me over the years was where the idea came from. I have family in real estate that when you're younger, you don't really pay too much attention to what your dad or your mom does for a living. You kind of see it passive, but you don't pay attention until you get to that stage of determining what you want to do with your life. So I think it's always been in my spirit, in my DNA. But I think purchasing my first home was that catalyst for me, and seeing the potential of not necessarily the freedom, because I mean, that's kind of a misconception of how much freedom you quote unquote have as an entrepreneur, especially as a real estate agent. But that first purchase for me was huge for me. I think I spent all my money on it. It was a journey. So that's how it started for me. I think it was that first home purchase and seeing how real estate benefited me and blessed me through that process was kind of what allowed me to see the potential in real estate and how that could potentially help me to reach some of my goals at the time.
This episode, just like every episode, is brought to you by Visually Sold. If you're a real estate agent in the greater Atlanta area, you need professional listing photos for your listings. Visually Sold is the best solution. I'm a little biased, but it's true. A few things you need to know. We do photos, video, drone, 3D scans, and we even write your listing descriptions for you. Yes, you heard that right. We deliver everything in 24 hours, so the very next morning you'll have all of the content that you ordered. All of our photographers are employees. They're not contractors. We give them all the same exact camera equipment to use for the photo shoots, so you can expect the same great results no matter which of our team members comes to your listing. You can book your shoot on our website in under 2 minutes. Just go to our website, vs.photos. Just type that into your URL, boopily boop, vs.photos, and you can book a shoot in under 2 minutes. So thank you again to Visually Sold for sponsoring this podcast. Now let's get to the show.
Yeah. So
Very cool. So it was
Yeah.
your own personal experience.
it was.
And seeing how it played a part in your life.
Correct.
And you're like, okay, maybe I can help other people do this.
Yeah.
As a profession.
Yes. Yes. It was pretty cool. It was that, but then I think as I lived in that home, I ended up finding roommates, rented out the whole thing, and it just turned into, it was many benefits.
Oh, so you
that
house hacked it.
Oh yeah, house hacked the heck out of it. I lived in the basement.
Nice. Okay.
Rented out everything, and I kept that home for about 4 years, and I just learned a lot. And I think once you start owning real estate, you understand the indirect benefits of having it.
Yeah.
But that was big for me. I was like, I want to help people do this because it truly changed my life financially, put me in a different financial position. And I think that was one thing, learning the benefits after the fact that most folks, you kind of hear about it, but once you've actually, you experience it, it just puts you in a different position. And I wanted to be a part of that for someone else. So that was before I jumped into real estate and learned how hard it truly is to be successful as an agent. But that was the catalyst for like, I think I'm going to jump into this. And like I said, I had some sales experience in another field, but I was like, I want to do this. Might as well give it a shot.
Yeah. So might as well. So you weren't self-employed before that, before you were an agent. So that it was your first sort of jump into self-employment.
Yeah.
How has that been different? Because you were in corporate. So how has it been different from corporate? And what are some things that you have had to figure out that are that played big roles in your journey as a self-employed real estate agent?
Yeah, so I dabbled in some entrepreneurial side hustles and endeavors when I was in college, which I've always, and like I said, my dad has been in the self-employed entrepreneur journey for his entire life. My mom dabbled in it a little bit, but she's a professor at a university. So I got a little bit of it, and I dabbled in it a little bit before I moved. But it was the first exposure for me, really. And I think the biggest adjustment, I'll be very, very candid, I mean, it was exactly what a mentor told me it would be. And it's much harder than you think it will be. And it takes a lot longer than you think. So it's awesome. It's fulfilling, but it's terribly difficult. And I think what you see in the media, on TV, and what you hear, there's some truth to it. But it takes a lot more than people expect, especially if you want to do this full time. I think everybody has a different journey, has different other responsibilities, but any entrepreneurial journey, working for yourself in general, is hard, no matter what you do, real estate independent. But in this particular field, it's very relational. It takes, marketing is extremely important. They don't teach you that when you're getting your license. And it's as if you get your license and then just the deals come. And that's such a lie. It's terrible. And I mean, I think depending on your responsibilities, people just don't realize that. It took me a minute. Yeah. Fortunately, I came with a little bit of sales knowledge and I had to learn marketing more. I knew it was important, but fortunately I came with sales, and all sales is people skills. I mean, I think it has a tainted name, the word sales.
People think used car salesman.
Yeah,
and that kind of
and that's
thing.
not always the case, especially in our generation. You know, it's different now. You know, it's really trying to discover how you can serve people and convincing them that whatever solution you have is in their best interest or benefits them.
Totally.
And that's once you actually get the opportunity to create a relationship. But the marketing piece is making others aware of your existence. And that looks so many different ways. So that was the hardest part. I'm saying it in general terms, but those two things take a certain level of skill and education. And if you're unwilling to learn those things or put in the amount of time without getting paid for however long it takes for you to get good at it, then it's going to be a slap in the face.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's something that I didn't expect it to take as long as it did for me. And keep in mind, I came in with a little bit of skills in both those areas. Yeah. And it still took a lot longer. Unfortunately, I did okay my first year. I wasn't a person who jumped into it and had nothing my first year. I had a handful of transactions my first year, which was, thank God for that. Yeah. But it was hard, man. And I had to do some other things to supplement. I mean, I fortunately came into it with a little bit of savings. I didn't come into it with just cold turkey, $0 in the bank account. Yeah. And, you know, shout out to my wife. She was supportive of the whole process. She's been with me from the beginning.
Great.
And it helps when you have a support system. But that was the biggest thing. The sales and marketing skills are the things you really have to get good at. Yeah. And then if you don't have any relational skills, it becomes harder as well. So it's a multi-pronged. But those are the big three, I think, what would drive success in this career.
Yeah,
especially
sales, marketing, and
in
personal
relation.
skills.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And I know they can overlap to other things, but especially in real estate, it's those are important. Those are important.
For sure. What would you say that one of those three things what was/is the toughest part of being self-employed, or
Sure.
maybe is it one of those things, or is there something else? It's like, man, this is something that I didn't know that this was going to be part of it, or I didn't know that this was going to be the challenging part of it.
Yeah, Evan, great question. So what I'm hearing from you is probably the toughest part of the least expected hurdle.
Yeah. The toughest part of being, is it one of those things? Is it like, is it having to learn all of these skills, and find the resources to learn these skills yourself? Is that kind of...
That's what it is. I think you hit the nail on that. I think the hardest part was the marketing piece and how long it truly takes to get a client, to find somebody, to make someone aware of you, for you to build that trust with somebody, to actually do a transaction that puts food on the table for your family. I mean, you do a lot. Marketing it's so much. I mean, you have a different level of respect for some of these companies you take for granted that you buy their stuff every day. But when you look at what goes into these different ads that you watch, or these different things you see kind of subconsciously, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. And we're individuals typically starting out. It's just me. It's just you. Before you build a team or you have a marketing, no one has a marketing department as an agent, at least that I know of. It's typically
like, here's your license and your marketing department.
Yeah, and it's typically you. And a lot of it is self-education. Self-education on, first of all, asking yourself the question, like, who are you? What are you comfortable with? Because there's so many different things you can do to market yourself in real estate, and it all works.
Yeah.
I learned it all works if you work it. But not everybody likes to pick up the phone and cold call people. I mean, I sharpened those skills when I was in corporate. Hated it. It was tough, but it works. And some people are built that way.
I have some videos because I used to like document when I was starting the business for myself, just little videos that I wanted to make private. Like, all right, here's this week, I'm negative this much in the bank. Like, here's what's happening. And I remember one of them specifically was me cold calling agents.
Yeah.
And I had never cold called people in my life. I'm like, hey, I'm a real estate photographer. Do you want photos?
Yeah.
It was just the worst. I'm like, and I had like this list of people I wanted to call, and I'm literally just talking to the camera there. I'm like, I don't want to do. Why? I know I need to do this, but I'm not doing it. Why am I not doing it? It's just such a hard thing to do because you don't want to bug people.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a burden on somebody.
Sure.
But,
and interesting perspective, and kudos to you, man, for stepping into that, because although it's difficult, I think it builds something in you that I think is valuable for anybody getting into a career like this where sales and marketing is important. And I think number one is a shift in what those words mean, first and foremost, because you look at them differently when you're talking to people. But in the generation we live in, most folks, they see a phone number they don't recognize, they don't even answer it. So it's just different. But it's an interesting process, man. It's an interesting process, and it's all these different marketing things. I think you have to, back to the original question, is kind of have to ask yourself what works best for you, and are you willing to do it long enough to plant the seed and do it long enough to see it bear fruit?
Yeah. And
then once you see what works, double down on that thing. And I go back to the original thing that just caught me off guard was, this takes a lot longer than you think. Now, some people are fortunate they jump into it with connections and all these different things to people in certain places, but that's not the case for most folks. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough, and it's any business. But I mean, since we're on the topic of real estate, it just takes a minute, and you have to get good at certain things. And in any sort of career like this, where it's sales, it's people, you're building a trust and a familiarity. When there's a lot of exterior noise that comes into people's ears for the same service, you have to be able to stand out, or when you get the opportunity, people remember you, or you make an impression on somebody, and then be patient to plant a seed and let it cultivate. Yeah. And that's a beautiful part about social media, is there's essentially you plant a seed and it continues to remind them. Yeah. But those skills are important, and they don't teach you that when you're getting your license. They teach you all the, how not to get fined, how to not lose your license,
which is important.
It is important, but that doesn't teach you how to feed your family. No. It doesn't teach you how to build a career. So, and I think people get into it because that's important. Let's be honest. I mean, you're out here trying to build something to take care of your family and also serve people. Yeah. But I'm not ashamed. Like, you're trying to feed your family.
Yeah,
And
right.
you can't do that with words and in good faith. It takes
Yeah.
execution and serving other people, and you got to learn the skills in order to do that. So it's a process.
It is,
It's a
and
process.
marketing's always changing too.
Yeah.
Like the tactics, the
Yeah.
the systems of it, and like right now, of course, social media is huge. You're really awesome on social media. Like
Thank you,
that's
man.
something that I can see you're leaning heavily into.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you're seeing rewards from that. So like how is social media being played a part in your business?
Sure. So it's huge. So it's back on the question about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
In real estate, there's so many different ways you can generate connections, right? Whether it's open houses or door knocking or cold calling or farming.
Yeah.
It's whatever works best for you as long as you're willing to do it long enough to see the seed. So I think for me, I don't mind being in front of a camera. I love learning about tools and different things out there, because also all social media is marketing. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. A lot of folks look at it from a consumer mentality, which is fine. It's entertainment.
Yep.
But when you study the platforms, when you study what they're for, they are marketing tools. They are they're for connection and awareness.
Attention. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know that based on, like, on the back end, they make money based on ads. They make money based on ads. So that's
Right.
that's that's how they can be utilized to their maximum potential. And I think when I saw that, I started listening to podcasts and watching YouTube channels about how to use these tools for that purpose.
Yeah.
With intentionality, not accidentally. And I think that's the difference. So for me, I think when I was experimenting with different ways to grow my business, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed learning about the tools. Mm-hmm. I like the leverage of video. It's huge now. I mean, you can connect with so many people via a camera, whether it's your cell phone or cameras like this. But just being yourself, providing value, and people will come to you, and you'll deter the people that don't. And it's okay. You're not for everybody. And I think that's just such a powerful tool. And I think the more and more you start to study social media, the more and more I studied it, the more I'm like, I could do this. And I just have to be consistent. And a lot of it you can do from your office, from your home, from while you're out doing what you do every single day. A gentleman I follow who's a great mentor, great content, he said, and it stuck with me, you're doing these things anyway, every day, whatever it is your career. Just turn on the camera.
Yeah.
Turn on the camera and share it. Just turn on the camera. You can decide afterwards whether you want to share it, but I recommend you share it.
Yeah.
But just turn on the camera, doing what you're already doing anyway, and you will connect with people. You have no idea who's watching and who it touches. And if your goal is connections, you'd be surprised. And I think I just doubled down on to study how to get good at it, how to make content that people enjoyed watching, how to educate people, give them tips and tricks and tools in the home buying and the home selling process that was valuable to them.
Yeah.
So, and then you just get good at how to present content in a way that people enjoy watching. That's a piece of it where you study kind of cinematography. I love watching movies. I'm a big fan of critiquing movies and why did I keep watching this movie, and it's in a genre I have zero interest in. I'm a big action guy. So I find myself watching, especially stuff on Netflix now, like these originals. The cinematography is next level now. And it's like little nuances that you pay attention to that keep people watching for a few more seconds.
Yeah.
And I study that stuff because it's fun. But then a big piece of it you can't avoid is just providing value to people. So whether it's in entertainment, educational, or some sort of humor, people will watch and they'll continue to come back, especially if they connect with you as a person. So I think that's what I doubled down on. I enjoy doing those things and just tried to get good at it. Try to get good at it.
Well, and you are. You're doing it. What are some? I want to get like a little bit nitty gritty here, like granular. What are some things that you think make a good reel? Instagram
good question.
What are some? Because I noticed some things that you do that I've seen from you, or like flashing the information about the property, like in like one frame of the video.
Yeah.
So I think you can make it the thumbnail or something. I don't know if that's the reason, but all those little things. I know you're really detailed about all of that stuff. So what are some things like that?
You watch some of my reels. It sounds like it. That's awesome. So it's funny. It goes back to watching movies and like studying, like paying attention. Like I said, from childhood, my dad used to take me to movies, and I think I've always had a passion for them. And as you get older and you start to learn marketing, I just started to pay more attention about the little nuances that I think people enjoy. It makes the visual experience, good for you. How does it serve you as the person watching? Because I know that there's no transaction. You're getting to know each other. I'm providing value to you, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I think to answer your question specifically, what I've learned is a few things that seem to be consistently good. They work. And that's showing my face. People like to see a human being.
Yeah.
You can get away with every now and then with maybe just your voice or something that is just a still frame image, but people connect with people. So showing your face, showing my face has helped me to build that relationship. It's almost like people know me whenever they decide to call or text or whatever. And I love that. I think secondly is trying to figure out some sort of hook, whether that's using the word "you" tends to work. Have you seen? Do you want to see? Things like that. It's almost like you're talking to somebody, and in little nuances like that keep people watching for a few more seconds, a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I would say those two things help. And people just love real. I mean, that's why people love real estate. That's why shows like Selling Sunset and all these other shows do so well, even if like the show isn't that great. People love looking at real estate.
Yeah.
So I use that because people ultimately that's what they want to see. But I think getting people to watch long enough to the end, you gotta hook them in the beginning, and that's give some sort of value relatively quickly to get them watching long enough to see the value that you're providing, which may not be at the beginning. But I think those two things are very basic, but it took me a minute to learn how important they are.
Yeah.
So I think what makes a good reel, to answer your question straightforwardly, is I think you need to be on camera. I think if you're in a people business, which is real estate, they need to see you or hear your voice, one of the two. I would recommend seeing your face. And then study what it means to hook people, to try to, what it grabs people's attention. And that changes so frequently in the world we live in. But there are a few things that work pretty consistently. Yeah.
Cool. And I think and that hook is, I don't know if it is currently, but I know at some point it was within the first 3 seconds, you have to kind of hook people. I feel like that's shortening. It's like now it's like first 1.5 seconds. If there's not something interesting right there, they're going to scroll. Because like people's attention spans are like gnats right now. So if the hook isn't there right at the beginning, good luck.
And that's the tough part. That's why it's always continuing to learn. But social media is a blessing and a curse in terms of it sometimes hampers the social connection.
Yeah.
But it also enhances it. So it's the backside of everything. I call it the backside of the blessing. It's a great thing, but there's always a backside of it. But the attention span is another indirect con in terms of it takes so much more to keep people watching because there's so many other things vying for their attention. So I agree. Yeah. It's getting a little bit more narrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's decreasing as we speak. Just wait till we have like neural links and
right. I even hear glasses.
First millisecond.
Yeah. Some of these companies now, like Meta and all these other, putting like cameras and video in people's glasses.
Yeah.
It's a trip, man.
Those are cool. I think Ray-Ban's doing it. Yeah. They're cool. I know Snapchat had those. They like kind of had the first like kind of. But apparently the Ray-Ban, they're really good. They're actually not bad.
Yeah.
And they have speakers in these parts.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it's like you can hear it, but it's not. People can't hear what you're listening to.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Feels very Iron Man-esque.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. Speaking of Iron Man, real quick gripe I have.
Sure.
AI is great right now. Sure. Like it's really really cool. I think it's such a cool tool. I'm still waiting for Jarvis. Like something at least like kind of like Jarvis.
Yeah.
Like GPT-3 or GPT-4 is pretty good.
Sure.
Like it's, you can get good answers out of it.
Yep.
There's another one called Pi AI. It's a really cool app. It's more voice kind of, but Siri is awful. Siri is horrible.
Yeah.
Like why haven't they, like what's going on? You know what I mean? Like they're going to fall behind if they don't I want Jarvis. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
I really want a Jarvis.
Yeah. So I love dabbling in AI because I'm still such a novice, but I love experimenting with these things. So I think if you're not staying apprised on these things, I mean, it's going to come and bite you in the rear eventually because there's so many things that are making productivity and work easier.
Yeah.
And depending on if you're not continually improving your skill set, this is a whole tangent that it's going to really affect employment, and that's a whole nother tangent. But I think, which is all that to say, it's important for you to stay apprised of what's going on out there so you can just continue to stay relevant in marketing.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, marketing is just going to be important. So I love AI, man. I think I love all the tools because ultimately it's about just giving me more time to spend with my family and people I care about.
Totally.
That's all it is. Whatever I could do to try to help give me back my time, I'm all about learning what that is.
Yeah.
So, and I think AI is just a way to do that. That's all. And there's so many tools out there that make video editing and different tools and hook creation and captions and all these different things that make the visual experience more pleasant for the viewer. AI can help. And a lot of them are still in their infancy, but a lot of them are, you think with the tool. You think of something, the tool helps you bring it to life, whatever that may be. Yeah. And I think if you look at it that way, it becomes more of a kind of like a childlike playfulness with these tools. And then you find what works and you throw away the rest, right?
For sure.
You find what works and throw away the rest. But I agree. I don't know why Apple hasn't come up with something a little bit better, because with there's so many out there, from Bard to ChatGPT, that just make so many things so much easier.
The amount of times I've heard like, here's what I found on the web. It's like, I don't want you to look on the, like, I don't want you to read me a Wikipedia article. Like, I want you to just tell me the answer. Yeah. Like, even that is just, it just seems like they haven't improved it since its launch, really.
Yeah, and maybe they're riding the coattails of some of the other products, which people are, it's a cult-like following with Apple. I love Apple products. Yeah. But maybe they just haven't really given that piece the time just yet with everything else.
Or they're working on something so great that it's going to blow everything else out of the water.
They're just going to hit us with it eventually, but we'll see. I'm not a big fan of Siri. I don't really use it.
Yeah, I almost never, other than like, hey, set a reminder or set a timer for this, like maybe that. Yeah. But like even the texting feature, it's just, who is your favorite director? You said you're really into film.
Oh, man. So I'm terrible with directing, man. I know actors in movies more than anything.
Okay, so more on screen and
so I'm starting now in this stage of my life to learn the director's name.
Yeah. Okay,
whereas before I could tell you a movie and tell you, like, I'm learning the style of like what they did with the camera, what that means in cinematography language, like Ken Burns effect. I didn't know that was a thing until I learned. Right. But I could tell you probably a movie that I'm on recently that I really, really love, and I'm a big, action is my top. That's my top movie. So I'm a big fan of all the Marvel movies, the DC, all that stuff. There's a movie with my man who played Thor. It's called Extraction. And there's a 1 and 2. It's action packed. And what I learned from that movie was camera angles and dynamic shots and stuff like that. To do something with the camera that's unconventional. Yeah. Right. And that movie is phenomenal. Phenomenal, strictly for that. It's action packed, but what they do with the camera and the drones is next level. And there's another movie specifically that really takes drone footage to the next level. It's called Ambulance. Okay. And it's kind of obnoxious how much drone they use, but it's like they do crazy stuff with the drone, and it's action too. So if that's not your thing, less about the genre and more about the tools. Yeah. The drone usage in Ambulance, next level. And then the different camera shots and angles and dynamic shots and Extraction, next level. Love those two movies.
My favorite director is David Fincher. He directed Fight Club, The Social Network, a lot of House of Cards. Okay. Something that, and you might really, because you seem like a very detailed kind of a guy. You like getting into that kind of stuff. They're not action. Not all of them. Yeah,
I've seen Fight Club.
Fight Club's, totally. But his whole thing is he doesn't want there to be any evidence that there's anybody behind the camera when the camera moves. He wants it to be as robotic, as smooth as from A to B as possible. Interesting. So he'll use handheld shots, like a shaky, like a lot of action movies have that, especially. Like Chris Nolan has a lot of them, has a lot of those shots. Yeah. But he uses them only artistically. He'll use it. There's one handheld camera shot in The Social Network. And it's when like all of a sudden Justin Timberlake's character is like realizes something like crazy. It's like all it does was follow him behind him to the window, and that was it. That's the only handheld shot in the entire film. Yeah, that's pretty cool. He's very much like, and he'll do like 100 takes of a scene, and if he's like, can we move that table 2 inches to the right? Yep. It's like little things like that. He's just he takes it so seriously and does it to such a perfectionist level. It's really admirable. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I watched recently. Watched a class on Masterclass. You heard of the platform Masterclass? On cinematography and filmmaking, just to try to sharpen the skills. And there was a class a lot of filmmakers are on there, but Ken Burns is a director. And I watch his masterclass. Number one, he has an effect named after him, but he does documentary style stuff. And the way they talk about exactly what you mentioned, the nuances that you don't even think about as a consumer watching the movie, it's just inspiring. And especially if you're a creative, I think ultimately, then this is me jumping out of the work that is real estate in the career. I love creative things. I love creating, and I kind of get to exercise that muscle with marketing and social media.
For sure.
But I love watching creative people create in their space. And that's the marketing here is what it looks like for me in my field, social media. But the way his mind worked as he was explaining things was truly, truly inspiring. So I relate to what you're talking about.
I love seeing that. I mean, they're like professional. Like they're so into their craft.
Yeah.
I love watching those people talk about what they do.
Yep. It's pretty awesome.
That's such a cool platform too, Masterclass. Like it's really a really good idea.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, man, all that stuff to improve your skills.
Yeah.
There's so many tools out there, and that's just one of them.
So I noticed that you started doing, you may have done this before previously, but I know more recently, especially, you've been doing sort of just home tours, just home tour videos, on YouTube. Why did you start doing that, and what is your goal with doing that? And are these listings that you just see that you're interested in, or are you trying to? What's your goal with that?
Sure. So it's a level of marketing. So that's the basis of it, and it's to leverage myself. So YouTube is a great platform, and I love YouTube because it's owned by Google, and it's different. It's not technically social media in terms of how you would characterize the other platforms. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these others are more, they are truly social media platforms. They kind of feed you what you want to see based on your activity.
Yeah.
There's different things that are working behind the scenes to kind of watch your behavior on what you do on your phone.
Yep.
YouTube is owned by Google, and it's search engine driven. So anybody today or tomorrow could hop over to Google and I'm looking for a home in Roswell, Georgia. And they may not see anything that I posted on Instagram because it's 6 months old. But if my video may pop up on YouTube or on Google, and it may suggest my YouTube video or vice versa. And I think for me, it's evergreen content. It's stuff that I could do now while I have the vigor, I have the energy, I got the time. Let's just pump out as much content as I can in a platform that's evergreen, because I know that social media isn't. I know that in terms of Instagram and Facebook and all these things. So to me, it was strategic marketing. I wanted to try to do things that were evergreen. I also wanted to put something out there that gave people another avenue to get to know me in a more long form way. So I think that's what YouTube is. It's evergreen. It's search engine optimized, and it's just another more like TV-like, your own show-like platform for people to get to know you. Whereas Instagram is more bite-sized. It's similar. It's just a different format.
Yeah.
And the more and more you start to study these things, you realize different demographics are on different platforms. So depending on maybe what price point you want to get into or what client you want to connect with, everybody's on a different medium. You know what I mean? So I think it's important for you to know where your audience hangs out.
Yeah.
And the more and more content and social media gets popular, no matter what age someone may be, they do have a platform they're comfortable with. They may not be on it as much as you and I, but there are certain platforms that folks are comfortable with. And I try to put myself on platforms where my ideal client is. So that was cool. It was a strategic play.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And everybody likes a home tour. Everybody likes seeing, and like you said, like
trying to do my own selling sunset, you know, all these, what do you call it, HGTV type stuff, just in my own way, but in a more valuable way, man. People really love home tours, and they enjoy watching them. And if you do a decent, and my YouTube stuff is very basic, very, very basic. It's just, hey, this is what's here. I found this one to share with you. Let me walk you through it. If you love it, reach out to me. We'll talk more detail. It's very, very simple. So I try to keep it that way and just provide value for people in that way.
I wonder if the reason more people don't do that is because they're worried about it not being professional looking enough. Or like they're worried about it not being perfect enough. And that's what's stopping them from doing it at all.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's like, it's not, HGTV or whatever, but it's like, you're putting it out there.
Yeah. It's just value. It's just value. And you'd be surprised. Like I said, whatever you're doing, turn on the camera and just record it. And anyway, and you'll attract who needs to be attracted to you.
Yeah.
Regardless of who you are, how you sound, how you look, there's going to be someone who connects with you. You're going to say something. You're going to do some sort of quirk. You're going to say something about maybe what you believe in, and it just draws people to you, and it repels other people. And you don't want to deal with those people anyway.
Totally.
And that's okay. And that's okay. So for the YouTube stuff, for me, it's about value. I think people who are moving here, who are looking to move to Georgia, to specific cities, whether it be in Cobb County, Paulding County, Fulton, whatever the case may be, they go on the internet and look at this stuff. They Google everything. And if my video pops up and it can provide for them value, then I've done my job.
Yeah.
And now hopefully the next layer is they like me. They like me and they reach out to me, or they save it. So when they are ready, they come back. Hey, I can't tell you how many times this has happened. Hey, I saw your video. We saved it. We were watching it. It came up. Hey, can we talk about this? And then it just becomes a matter of following up and staying in touch with them. That happens a lot.
Wow.
And it's not a one to like immediately when they see your video, you're going to get it. It's planting seeds. It's evergreen stuff. So I think the value is more important than anything. Of course, you want to get better. This is just a Tajh thing. I want to get better at putting something out there that's quality. But sometimes good enough is okay for me. And I've learned for others, it's extremely valuable because they care about the information more than the quality of the video.
Yeah.
And I think once I shifted my mind in that regard, if I'm truly about serving these people and connecting with them, providing something with answering their question, it's less about the quality in that platform.
Totally.
Than anything else.
Totally.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Enes? He does those huge.
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy to see because I've been watching him for years. Like when he was first starting those home tours, the quality of them now is just, I mean, it's like a movie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, I mean, he gets access to these crazy, crazy houses
all across the world now.
All over the world. People call him and pay him to make these videos.
He doesn't even sell real estate. I watched a video probably about a year ago. He doesn't even do real estate anymore. He makes most of his income from, of course, his YouTube stuff, but traveling and just shooting videos and sharing them.
Exactly.
And he used to be an agent, but now he finds more value in use of his time to simply share these beautiful homes, which is, it's crazy.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It really is. And he deserves it. He's done so well.
And consistent.
Exactly. And consistent improvement. Little improvement here, little improvement there.
Yeah.
It's a great channel. Him and Eric Conover has also some really good ones too.
He did one here. I'm not sure how long ago, but he came here because I think he's from New York.
Yes.
He came here and did something too, but he's another guy.
Yeah.
So these are guys that I watch when I do my tours to try to critique your video presence, but then also improve your vocabulary, like your real estate vocabulary.
Yeah.
Because the longer you do real estate, you realize more and more that certain things have a particular name. It's not just called the counter or the desk or the knob or the this. It's a lot of it has particular names, and depending on who's watching, they can relate to stuff like that.
Totally.
You know, so it's just about getting better over time.
Yeah, I love watching their stuff. I really, really do. I think more agents should do that kind of thing, and especially for like the very high-end luxury listings.
Yeah, and to answer your initial question, I don't mean to cut you off, but the stuff I put on YouTube is marketing stuff, and like I said, the quality is okay, good enough to I believe fulfill a need that someone may have on Google. Yeah, but let's keep it 100 when it comes to actually servicing a client. And getting a listing, that's professional, high quality. I don't do that.
Totally, yeah.
It's next level service. So I think maybe some folks think they need to do the same for both, and for the volume that I put out on YouTube, it would just be too expensive. And some folks, when you get to that, you may be able to improve it a little bit, but to pay what it costs to get high quality video and photo for stuff like that, it's gonna be pricey.
Oh, totally.
Pricey.
And that's what I'm saying.
It's pricey.
That kind of thing, thinking that you need that, should not stop you from making those. Like you should. Number one, you don't need that for
not for content creation. No, not for content creation.
No, but like you said, if it's your listing and you're in charge of selling this asset. Totally.
Yeah, that's professional service. That's a whole different level of service. A whole different level. Because, I mean, I'm not a videographer or photographer by no means. And people specialize in that stuff. Yeah. And when it comes to servicing a seller client, that's what they're going to get.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to go back to when you first got started in real estate.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your first transaction.
Sure.
What was it like? How did you get it? Was it a family member? Was it a friend? Was it?
No. So my very first transaction.
Also, how long ago was it?
Yeah. So I have been doing real estate full time now for 3 years. I just got to the renewal of your license, which I believe is every 3 years. So it's just crazy to think about it full circle now. And God has been so good, man. It's been it's just been a blessing to be able to do this full time, because I know how hard it is for folks. And like I said, I have a supportive wife. She's been with me since the jump. And I took my real estate license in class online and took it in her living room when we were dating at the time. And now we're married. So it's just so funny to think about it.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. So she's kind of been with me and watching me figure it out along the way. But so it was my first year. So fortunately, my first year, I did have a handful of transactions, and I think it was cold calling, man. It was picking up the phone and cold calling people. I think when my first year, I tried everything. I took my skills that I learned from corporate. I was cold calling, sitting at open houses, but it was primarily cold calling, because that's the skill that I learned in corporate. That's what I was doing. I was familiar with it, and I knew that you could do it in real estate. And I quickly realized that I did not like that, but it worked.
But it worked, apparently.
Worked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I just happened to call somebody on the right day or the right time and set the appointment, had the opportunity to sit down at this person's dinner table, and got a listing. It was a townhome in Kennesaw.
Wow.
And that was my very first listing.
Yeah.
And I realized very quickly that is not what I want to do in terms of that type of marketing.
Yeah.
But I think there was a handful of transactions over my career that were cold calling. I mean, it's probably two. I wouldn't say a handful. It's probably like two. But then I transitioned to sitting at open houses, and then all the while learning social media, just getting better at it.
Yeah.
But that's how it started. That's how it started.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think that there are too many real estate agents right now? And
Sure.
if so, how do you make yourself stand out among the rest?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the short answer is yes. I do think there are too many. And I say that because I've realized that this done right and done at the level that you need to be to serve people with excellence is the way I summarize it. You need to do this full time, or you need to make the client appear like you're doing it full time. And I think starting out part time, it could work. But I do think to be available and to serve the client, whether it be you or someone from your team, at the level that they deserve to be serviced, is very important. Is very, very important. And I think that most folks, like I said, going back to the original question, don't realize how hard and how long this truly takes, and what it means to create an excellent experience for somebody. For most folks, it's the biggest transaction they're ever going to make. It's a lot, and a lot of, to navigate the process correctly, it's a lot of nuance, and most folks don't realize it, or they've talked to their grandfather or their dad who's done it 10 years ago, and there's lots of similarities, but there are lots of things that are not exactly the same, right? So, and don't even get me started on, there's a whole nother conversation about what time frame you jump into the buying process of the selling, but the market changes every month. So it's just different. And having a professional, emphasis on the word of professional, in your corner or to consult with is paramount. And you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I can't say that, because I had to start somewhere. Unfortunately, you have mentors and folks that you can lean on to help you do things the right way. But yes, I do think there's a lot, because I don't think a lot of people are professionals and they take the career seriously. I think they do it because of the media, what they see on TV. They see the money and different things. And although a part of that is true, I think that comes when you provide a level of excellent service to people over time. And there's value there. There's value. Yeah. So to answer your second question, how do I set myself apart? I think everybody needs to find a unique way to kind of stand out, because there's a lot of things that I think every agent should do, and it's to be expected. But for me, there's a few things. I think I care about the process people go through. I really care about that. When I say I like to try to do things with excellence, and I think excellence just simply means above average. I try to make the experience easy. I love when people say, hey, I talked to this, that, and the other, and my process was nothing like theirs because you made the process so easy. Like, it was seamless. That to me is a huge compliment.
Totally.
And especially when I know behind the scenes, talking to this person and that person, it was a little tense at times, but they didn't know it. They knew what they needed to know to help the process move forward. But in terms of like the stressful stuff, you try to keep that at a minimum or deliver it in a way that makes the process easy for them. So I love that. The other side of it is on the sales side, on the marketing side, I try to do that with excellence too. I find a great deal of joy and pride in marketing things with excellence.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from the photography that you hire, the videos that you take, the social media presence that you have, what online presence you have. Because I mean, most people expect you to take photos and videos. I think if it's professional, that's a whole, you'd be surprised how many people put stuff out there that's trash. They take it with their cell phone when you have someone paying you for your service.
Still to this day,
it's flabbergasting. But so that's one level of service. I think next level is when you start to get quality video and quality photos, and then you start to take this stuff and create a YouTube video with it, and then you start to put stuff on postcards and send it to the whole community, and then you start to do open houses, and you start to do creative things to when people come into the open house. How do you continue to touch them when they leave? How do you get them, that person that came to your open house, how do you remind them that you have a listing, and although it may not be for them, they may have a cousin, sister, brother, friend that may want this house, but and because you followed up with them, now they know about it. Right. How do you present somebody's home in a creative way that gets us to stand out? Because you can make any home unique. It just depends on what you highlight. The videography, kind of, you're essentially a director behind the scenes with the professional you're hiring. Like, hey, you're the professional here. I know you're going to make it look great, but hey, can you emphasize this?
Totally.
Because you emphasize this
know that about the listing
correct.
more than anybody.
Because I have the relationship here. This seller has told me the story behind their home, and it's my job to bring that to life for someone else such that they can see themselves in that home. So I think all of that is important. And having that next level of marketing and presence online that's just the way the world's going. I just truly think that everybody has a cell phone. Everybody lives their life on that device. And if you're not showing up on there for somebody, you're missing out on serving your seller at the highest level with excellence. And then once you get there, whatever they see is with excellence. And that goes into the nuance of high quality media.
For sure.
But I think those two things, a process of excellence, a process of I want to make this as easy and pain-free as possible, just for the experience. But then on the sell side, just to be excellent in terms of marketing. Excellent, just above average. I take a lot of pride in that. And it's fun, man. I think marketing should be fun. And I think because I look at it that way, I do everything that people expect and some. Is if you're okay with it, let me try this. Because I think it'll make your home stand out. And if they're cool with it, let's do it.
I feel like people love that.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
You know?
And it's just different. It just makes things different. So that's what it's about when you're trying to sell something, especially something that's expensive and or unique. So
for sure. I think and more and more real estate agents every day. And yes, there are a ton of real estate agents. Everybody knows somebody who's a real estate agent.
At least 5 or 6.
At least.
At least.
Yeah, I wonder what that number is. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder, like, if you polled everybody, how many real estate agents do you know? It's probably up there.
Sure.
Like a handful of people. But even though that's the case, you can stand out among them, no matter how many real estate agents there are.
Sure.
There's only one you.
Sure.
And
that's a great point. That's a great statement.
How do you pour into that, and how do you utilize that?
Sure.
That's really the question.
Yes, and I agree. And I think, to piggyback off what I just said, in addition to what I shared with you, I think it's about being you.
Yeah. Trying
to get comfortable with who you are and not being ashamed of it. Because like I said, especially if you're comfortable being in front of a camera and being in front of video, doing video, people are going to be drawn to the authentic you, and I think it's important for you just to be who you are, because you can't be anybody else. Totally. People are going to sense it. So whether you're a man of faith, like I'm very open about my beliefs and my relationship with my wife, and I like CrossFit, I like working out, I like watching movies. I apply a lot of that to my marketing. Like, these are different things that I'm going to say something that connects with somebody. And some people, we're not big pet people. I've had pets my entire life, but now in the stage of my life, I have no dogs, no cats. But I know some people who they love animals, and they're all over their social media, and people love that, especially here in Georgia. I didn't realize how many people have a dog when I moved to Georgia. It's a thing. Yeah. And that's just a minute example of trying your best to be you. All your little quirks, all your little nuances and personality traits is going to connect with somebody. Yeah. And I think that's important for you to have that confidence, or just be comfortable being you.
Totally. And it's a relationship business, like you said. And people they will remember and want to work with and want to refer you if you make that personal connection with them, right? If you make it memorable because you're you, that's right? Not because hey, person X sold my house and now I'm moved.
Sure.
Now it's out of my brain.
Sure.
It's like, no, this real estate agent sold my house and he or she made the experience fantastic.
Yes.
And so I think, as much as it is, and, you could say oversaturated, I don't know if that's even true. Maybe it's not, because even no matter how many real estate agents there are, you can always make yourself stick out because of who you are, because none of them are you. Correct. So, and AI and tools and, Zillow and whatever are like changing things all the time. But at the end of the day, it's still a relationship business.
It is. It is highly. And I think that's what makes all the difference. Still to this day, a large portion of my business comes from referrals and SOI. Yeah. Just serving people, man, taking care of people as best I can. Can't please everybody. But for the most part, you just try to serve people, man, and make it memorable such that it's everything that I shared with you and that they just want to share with somebody. Like, this person made the experience great, or they got me what I wanted and some.
Yeah. And
believe me, when you do that, people tell people.
For sure.
Well,
Taj, I think you're killing it.
Thanks, man.
You're doing awesome.
Thank you.
I think people should go check out your Instagram, your YouTube. What's your handle and where can people find you?
So everything is at Tajh Walker Realty. So Facebook, Instagram, even on YouTube. Cool. It's at Tajh Walker Realty.
Cool. And all of it's going to be linked in the description of this video and everything. I think you are somebody who's doing it right.
Thanks,
and I think people can gain a lot of value from just following your stuff. I think that's definitely the case. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. This was fun.
Ton of fun. I'd love to have you back sometime. If you or somebody you know wants to be on the show, just send us a DM on Instagram. It's Visually Sold on Instagram. Other than that, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.